Bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs, we got Bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs, we got Bows, TKOs, yeah. Bows, TKOs.
Bows and TKOs. We are live, episode 131, coming at you from the Valley. I'm your host, Shane Gillette, for this weekly MMA podcast, streaming anywhere you listen to your podcast, as well as the videos on YouTube. And we have one hell of a show this week with plenty of MMA action. We have fights that have been announced, a little bit of a recap of the 324 Paramount relationship, recap the amazing UFC 324, and we have back-to-back pay-per-view, or numbered events, I should say, with UFC 325 in Sydney, Australia on Saturday. I mean, we'll talk about it once we get up to the 324, but I got to go to the event in person. First event in quite some time. What an experience that was. It made for quite the weekend in Vegas. I even met Arman Sarukian. He was coming in to catch at the Aria when I was leaving. That's one of my favorite places. Really cool guy. Obviously been on an insane PR tour. I like when you meet fighters. You know, I'm older than most of them anymore. I'll just go dap them up, say what's up. If they have some time, I'll chat them up a little bit. Not much of a selfie guy. Take a photo with me. You know, I just want to show that real people are out there. But I asked him what he was going to eat. He said some sushi rolls. I said, how many rolls? And he said, hundreds, brother. So kind of cool to run into him. But let's jump right in. We could talk about my 324 experience here in a minute. We have some fights that have been announced. We have Dustin Jacoby stepping in against Yaron Satabaldiev against Julius Walker, February 7th. Should be fun. On February 21st, we have Jeff Neal and Yarosh Medic. That's a great scrap. We also have Austin Vanderford out of his fight. So Phil Rowe is stepping in against Jean-Paul Lebuznoiani, February 21st. We have Eric Silva, Francis Marshall, February 28th. On March 14th, we have Chris Curtis taking on Miktabek Oralbai. I believe that's at welterweight. We have Piero Rodriguez taking on Sam Hughes. And then we have another injury fill-in as Kennedy and Shekwaku is out. Steven Asplund will be stepping in against Vitor Petrino. Big step up for him. We have Navajo Sterling booked against Bruno Lopez for March 28th. And then for that early numbered event in Miami in April, we have some bangers. We have Cub Swanson against Nate Landwehr and potentially his retirement fight. We have Andre Lima taking on Dong Hung Choi. And Kyle Dawkins taking on Vicente Luque. In roster news, the UFC releasing some names. The biggest of them, Patchy Mix, had a failure of a UFC career. He will be fighting with Rizin. The UFC also released some veterans, Tisha Pennington, Darius Flowers, Muhammad Yahya, Reese McKee, Elizao Zaleski dos Santos, and Renat Fakhretdinov. Probably the biggest surprise to me is he's done nothing but win in the UFC. Shit happens, man. They ain't playing games. I am a little bit surprised. Thought Tisha should get at least a retirement opportunity. The rest I'm not too surprised about, but Renat was definitely a head scratcher. And before the numbered event this weekend, we had a new bonus structure announced. Dana White was asked on the press conference, didn't announce it until the day of the fights. So Paramount Plus brings in double bonuses, as there is now $100,000 for the performance of the night and fight of the night, one of those each. And then any finish that doesn't win the $100,000 gets an immediate $25,000 per finish. I like it. More money incentivizes finishes. And I mean, a card, you know, you have mostly finishes. They're all getting paid. A guy who's new to the UFC could get a performance of the night or fight of the night, which happened this weekend. Changes your game when you're making 12-12, and then add a $25,000 bonus if you don't win the big ones. Some Paramount numbers. UFC 324 produced almost 6 million peak concurrent streams, so people tuned in at the same time, with a live minute audience and streaming views of 4.96 million during the main card. Dana White said it more than doubled expectations for Paramount, off to a fantastic start. And I will give you my thoughts of Paramount Plus here in a second. But let's recap UFC 324. I went 7-4 on my picks. So I am 7-4 in the year, 787 overall, 394 losses, 12 no contests and draws. So I am one behind my loss record overall. Off to a good start on the year. I mean, this card, the end result was fantastic. A ton of news surrounding the card. I mean, it had a rough start, losing the Kayla Harrison-Amanda Nunes fight. You know, that was brutal. I was really looking forward to seeing that. Then the day of the weigh-ins, you have Cameron Smotherman passing out, falling on his face. That fight gets scrapped. There was some weird betting odds movements in the Michael Johnson-Alexander Hernandez fight. Dana White didn't want to play games. He scrapped that fight, which I thought could have been more of the fun stylistic showdowns of the card. Supposedly Alexander Hernandez was injured as camp had leaked it, so people were betting on Michael Johnson. And who knows how serious the injury is. It's brutal to see. Hopefully they get rebooked as soon as possible. Then we had some weight misses. Divas and Figueiredo, Alex Perez, like 3.5 pounds over. You know, Figgy fought at flyweight, is in an upper division. But with the storms, I guess he had flight issues, didn't sleep for 48 hours, and Alex Perez said he just stopped sweating. Thank God those fights stayed on the card. We needed every fight on the card that we could get. With the action, I mean, the prelims started out violently. Great start. The main card absolutely delivered. You know, there was the Dominic Cruz Hall of Fame moment. Congrats, tip of the cap to Dominic Cruz, one of my favorite fighters in UFC history, to be honest with you. But man, being in that arena, the energy in the arena was so much fun. Per usual in Vegas, wasn't a sold-out arena till about the main card. But sat next to some cool people from Boston, shooting the shit. The guys right below me are from, I think it's Stafford, Arizona, where Justin Gaethje's from. So big Gaethje fans. The guy that sat next to me was from TNT Sport, which is like Europe's coverage of UFC. So we got to chop it up quite a bit throughout the fights. It was a great time. But the highlights, the Superstar Sugar Show walkout, the Patty Pimblett walkout. I recorded video, posted it. That was so much fun to see in person, even Gaethje's walkout, and of course what had happened in the main event. I mean, overall, I'm going to recap it a 7 out of 10. If you haven't been to UFC in person, I always praise it. The tickets have gone down if you buy them early from the past year, thank goodness. One of the coolest events to see in person, the energy in the arena. An hour earlier, I was hyped. And I won my ticket back because I bet my ticket cost on the Sugar Show. Then we had, the day before also, we had Zuffa Boxing. I tried to tune into it a little bit. It's kind of meh. You know, an event in the Apex, it is what it is. I'm not a huge boxing fan. But Paramount Plus, I thought they did well. The little drop of the drapes before the main card. Watching it back, because I had to come home and watch it back, see what the production was like. I don't like that they only have the fights with no corners. Like, usually you can see how the corners are coaching the fighters between rounds. No walkouts. I don't think you could watch the entire main card back like you could on ESPN when you would buy the pay-per-view. I hope they fix that. That's a huge miss for fight fans. And I haven't went back and tried, but outside of streaming on my phone, the quality seemed to be pretty, like, pixelated and just shitty quality with streaming. I don't know if they have so many people on the streams or they're figuring it out. But the quality during the fight was good. I heard there was no issues. Couple things with the huge production shift. I did think the Paramount Plus camera angle was too close into the fighters. A lot of the times waist up. With the fight game, you want to see the footwork. You want to be able to see the leg kicks. I think they need to zoom out a little bit. And, man, I don't know what was going on with the audio, if this was a director issue. I'm a journalism major, so I know the job of the director. I've worked replay before, cameras. But in the real time card, when they would cut from the fight audio to try to get to the corner, it seemed like they were waiting. It sounded like someone was just puffing on a vape pen. You could hear it mostly throughout the main card. That was kind of funny. So definitely some kinks to work out. Overall good experience. But please give us the full main card experience. We need the walkouts. That's half of the fun of the fights, to be honest, especially with like the Sugar Shows and the Patty Pimblets. But one fight we did not break down. We had Ty Miller with a round 1 knockout over Adam Fugit. Performance of the night. Welcome to the big dance, Ty Miller. And man, was it a good showing by him. The long, lengthy striker, he went to work. And Adam just wasn't having any of it. But let's kick it off in the early prelims, which there was only one. We had Josh Hokett with a round 1 TKO over Denzel Freeman. Another performance of the night. $100,000 for Josh Hokett. And, I thought Denzel Freeman was a weird signing by the UFC at the time. He was an LFA champion. And he did win in his UFC debut. But he just never really showed the talent like he belonged. I mean, Josh got a takedown very quick in the fight. Pretty much completely dominated Denzel. And he did nothing once he got taken down to try to get back up. When he was standing there, he was just kind of waiting for action to come to him. And then after he got taken down and got back up, Josh got him in a clinch and kneed him to the head. It seemed like Denzel was kind of on wobbly legs and rocked. He was trying to circle away to the space of the octagon. Josh was kind of chasing him with seconds remaining, kicked him to the body. And with Josh on the other side of the octagon, he just kind of did this. And that's all they needed. They called the fight with seconds left. Easily could have went into the second round if he didn't squat down and cover up his head. But it seemed like Denzel didn't want any more of it. Weird stuff. You hate to see that at this level, but a big win for Josh regardless. And of course, the great moment on the microphone, that was hilarious. Talking about Bradley Griner being a man. I know it's Brittany Griner. I call her Bradley Griner. And just the spots on the mic. He's trying to do a good job to promote himself. Brutal interview on the Ariel Helwani show this week. He's still playing the part. But yeah, huge win for him. And the stats back that up. Utter domination. He landed 71 total strikes, 37 of them significant. He had 1 takedown and 2 attempts with 3 minutes and 47 seconds of control time. And Denzel landed nothing. He was 0 for 8 with the strikes and 0 for 1 in takedowns. I mean, if you want to get cut from the roster, that's how you do it. Regardless, Josh stays undefeated, extends that winning streak to 8. Denzel ends his 3-fight winning streak. He starts a new losing streak. He is 1-1 in the UFC. Josh, after called out Waldo Cortez Acosta, some deep personal jabs. He's trying to get that smoke from somebody. I'm pretty positive he's not getting that fight. So how about Mick Parkin? I think Mick would be down. And I do expect Denzel to be cut, so I'm not going to book a fight for him. Moving on to the prelims, we had Alex Perez with a round 1 knockout over Charles Johnson, one of the fights I got wrong. And I'm not too surprised. I mean, Alex debatably fighting for his UFC roster spot, came out aggressive early, kind of just blitzed Charles and landed a nice right hand, kept loading up that right hand. Charles was doing well, trying to keep distance, circling, and just trying to pick Alex from distance after being wobbled. But after about a minute and a half in, Alex dropped Charles with a nice left hook, and then he came in and put on some ground and pound. Somehow Charles was still alive. He got up, tried to regain himself, but clearly wasn't straight-minded. And Alex smelled the blood in the water. He landed knees, landed hooks up against the cage as Johnson was trying to retreat. But again, Charles somehow a beast trying to stay alive in there on very shaky legs. But finally, Alex landed a left that got the job done for good. The judges called it. They probably could have called it a little bit earlier. But with Charles, as much as he has at stake, he's going to try to stay in there. Massive win for Alex. Every time he's counted out, he comes out aggressive, gets a big finish. Charles Johnson is not a slouch. Tough loss for him, as he's been kind of stuck fighting the up-and-comers, and he's probably going to stay there. Statistically, Alex landed 55 total strikes, 39 of them significant. He had 2 knockdowns, and Charles only landed 8 total and significant. He was 0 for 1 in takedowns. although it was not much of a takedown attempt. So Alex ends his 2-fight losing streak, starts a new winning streak. He's only 2-3 since 24, so he did not fight in 23. And Charles starts a new losing streak. He is 6-5 since 2023. Been very, very active. So what's next? I think Alex deserves a good vet fight, so why not a matchup with Tim Elliott? And for Charles, he's probably going to have to get another up-and-comer, somebody like Joseph Morales. Moving on. Little underdog payoff here. We had Nikita Krylov with a round 3 knockout over Modestas Bukauskas. And there was 2 fights here. Just watching fights, I watch almost every single person's fight, every card. Modestas Bukauskas just does not throw enough. 1-2, he usually lands, and then he lets it go. You got to follow up, especially at the light heavyweight division. And then the Patty Justin fight, which we'll get to later. I just had a feeling Patty wasn't at that level of striking yet, and boy was I right with both of them. Like I said, this fight kind of played out as I expected. You know, Nikita didn't look quick in there, wasn't super technical, but he was the pressure fighter, throwing more volume and mixing in takedowns. He got a takedown in round 1, and the rest of the fight he had Modestas circling against the cage. When Bukauskas would throw, it would be that just 1-2 right down the middle. He would land them. He had faster hands. If he just would have done that more, he would have won the fight. But you almost have a standard expectation that he's not going to do so. At the other end, it's very funny to think that Nikita Krylov is my age. You look at him in the octagon, he looks at least 15 years older than me. I was joking with the people that I sat around. I'm like, can you believe that guy's the same age as I am? And he looked older, man. I mean, he was slow, sloggy, but he tried to win and Modestas didn't. Sometimes that's all it takes in the fight game. And, you know, he would have won via decision, but he got it done late with a round 3 finish. He caught Modestas as he was backpedaling. An extra $25K for the minor as he's back to the win on the winning side of things, which is very important for him because he has had a rough skid. But it just shows, just because there's young guys on a streak doesn't mean that they're ready. Statistically, Nikita landed 94 total strikes, 72 of them significant. He had 1 takedown in 4 attempts, a knockdown, and 2 minutes and 37 seconds of control time. Now, Modestas landed 43 total strikes, 40 significant, and had 56 seconds of control time. So, Nikita ends his 2-fight losing streak. He starts a new winning streak. He is 2-2 since 2023, and he stays at 13 in the rankings. Modestas ends that 4-fight winning streak. He starts a new losing streak, but he is 6-2 since 2023. Now, I got to rebook this. I forgot. I was going to have Modestas fight Navajo Sterling, but he got booked. I'll try to do a last-minute book here. But for Nikita, I think another vet showdown. Him and Alonzo Menefield would be a great fight. And for Modestas, it's just such a shallow division. I'd love to see him fight Anthony Smith if he wasn't retired. How about, let's just give him Bredson Ribeiro. See if they fought. I want to say they have. They have not. So let's give him Bredson. Moving on. We had Ataba Gautier with a unanimous decision over Andrei Pulyayev. Shocked this went to a decision, but like I said, this fight was much closer than the odds would suggest. I mean, we've all come to know that Ataba is super explosive and just has been dominating his opponents. But this time, Andre, a very talented kickboxer, he didn't leave openings for Ataba, didn't leave his chin in the air, so he had to go to work for it. So he was very patient. He was very measured. I was surprised that Gautier didn't try to take Andre down, especially a kickboxer, probably easy to do so. But I think he wanted some octagon time, get some experience in there, which is much needed for where he is. He's not even 24. And Andre, man, he was throwing more than Ataba. But when Gauthier threw and landed, it landed with much more force, and he had more damage with the strikes. This was a lot of Andre trying to stay at distance and not put himself in harm's way, and Gauthier was able to land just enough big shots to win in the scorecards, but it was pretty damn close. And the stats speak for that. Ottaba landed 34 total and significant strikes. He did have 2 knockdowns, and Andre landed 59 total and significant. So he almost doubled the output, but when Ottaba landed, you felt it. Plus with the knockdowns, he was able to win. So the young, explosive Gauthier extends his winning streak to 9, 5-0 in the UFC. Andre starts a new losing streak. He is 2-2 in the UFC. Now, Ottaba is so young, there's no need to rush him up the rankings. So I think a showdown with someone like Cesar Almeida would make sense. And for Andre, I think he has a bright future. He is talented. How about Gerald Meerschaert? Then in the prelim headliner, we had Umar Nurmagomedov with unanimous decision over Deiveson Figueiredo. And this was a snooze fest, not going to lie to you. I mean, Umar was able to get a takedown pretty early in round 1. But credit to Figgy, he was able to get back up. He was not going to be held down. But when the fight was standing, it's like Figgy doesn't even want to fight at this point in his career. Not offensive at all. Was just trying to put himself out of harm's way. You know, Umar got round 1. Round 2, Figgy defended takedowns much better. But that was about it. You know, Umar did land some nice leg kicks. Had a few combos. Still not very much action, but Umar up 2-0. Round 3, you're like, all right, maybe we'll at least see a blitz from Figgy. Nope, Umar got another takedown, had a good amount of control time, and cruised to an easy decision victory, which in my mind, if Merab is healing injuries and Petr Yan's going to fight for the title, all Sean has to do is win. He's going to get that rematch with Petr Yan. But yeah, Deiveson, I mean, at this point, let's look at retirement, maybe one more fight. Umar keeping the top of the rankings. He's still going to be right there in title contention. A win's a win. And the stats, I mean, they're bad. Umar landed 103 total strikes, only 34 significant. He had 2 takedowns in 6 attempts and 4 minutes and 50 seconds of control time. And Deiveson only landed 28 total strikes, less than Umar's significant, with only 8 of them being significant. Brutal stuff. But Umar extends his winning streak to 2. He is 5-1 since 2023. He stays at 2 in the rankings. And Deiveson starts a new losing streak. He moves to 4-4 since 2023. And he moves down 1 spot in the rankings to number 7. Now, what's next? Kind of a logjam in the bantamweight. I think with this performance, although not necessarily his fault, it does put him behind Suga for the Merab title fight. So I think a showdown with Ayman Zahabi is next for him. And for Deiveson, again, he should consider retirement. He doesn't have that fire with him anymore. So maybe a fight with Kyler Phillips. Then moving into the main card, the Paramount Plus era has begun. Another fight I got wrong. No surprise though. Gene Silva with a unanimous decision over Arnold Allen. And I honestly thought that Arnold was going to win this fight with his crisp boxing technique. And in the first round, he got off to a good start. He was landing combinations, and he was frustrating Jean because he had that nice, tight, high guard. He had good defense and footwork and wasn't leaving Silva many openings. But Jean, the rest of the fight, he really put on a show of how much he has grown as a fighter. I mean, round 2, much more active, even got a takedown. I thought Arnold would be the guy getting takedowns, and he was mixing things up brilliantly. Nice kicks, nice combos, always got that spinning technique coming, and really improved grappling. So he won round 2, set it up for a winner-takes-all round 3. And I mean, the pace of this fight was high. It was fun to watch. Very high IQ fighters, highly contested. But round 3, Arnold battled, but he left a ton of openings to be countered, and Gene was waiting for it. Whether that was him overstriking, trying for more takedowns, Gene reversing him. Anywhere he went, Silva was better in round 3. And then there was the highlight moment where Arnold was down. Gene stepped on him and kind of launched off on his back. Wild stuff. I mean, Silva's a wild man. But brutal loss for Arnold Allen. You know, he was competitive. He clearly has a skill to win fights like this. He just didn't do enough. I mean, outside of round 1, Silva was pretty much able to get what he wanted. I thought Arnold was too flat-footed, and Silva was able to use his speed, you know, was offensive but smart with his striking. I'm just shocked Silva had so much success with the grappling here. He is becoming a very complete fighter. Statistically, Allen landed 60 total strikes, 56 of them significant. He had 54 seconds of control time. And Jean landed 78 total, 18 more, 74 more significant, about 20 more. And he had 4 takedowns in 6 attempts. That's the big shock. And he took the guy down just to create space or close distance. He only had 32 seconds of control time. His game plan wasn't to sit down there with Arnold. He wanted to strike with him. But Silva now starts a new winning streak. He is 7-1 in the UFC. He moves up 4 spots in the rankings to number 6. And Arnold starts a new losing streak. He is 1-3 since 2023. And he drops 1 spot to number 7. So what's next? Well, I think Jean continues to get big names. And there isn't a better stylistic matchup for him than Yair Rodriguez. That is an absolute banger. And for Arnold, a scrap with Steve Garcia. Book that shit. That's another banger. Moving on. Another fight I got wrong. Natalia Silva with a unanimous decision over Rose Namajunas. Now, in person, I am biased. I thought Rose was robbed a decision victory. I came back home, watched it. That is not the case. When I watched it back, I did give Natalia rounds 1 and 3, but round 1 was very close. And, you know, standing at the top of the 100, I thought Rose was connecting on some of her bigger strikes, but it didn't seem like she did when watching it back. You know, she didn't land her shots as impactfully as I had hoped, and Rose just didn't do enough in this fight. She wasn't landing clean enough. I expected her to be able to do so. But credit to Natalia. Did a good job defending takedowns in the first and did just a little bit more with the strikes, especially early. I mean, Rose definitely was the pressure fighter. She was holding down the center of the octagon, but Natalia is moving unlike any other. I mean, Natalia got her to chase a bit so she could land some kicks, be in and out. That nice side kick to the body, out. One jab followed up with a kick, she was out. And then round 2, Rose had more success. She ended up getting a takedown. I thought that sealed the deal for round 2, which set it up for a winner takes all round 3. Well, round 3, Natalia was feisty. I mean, she was landing nice side kicks, high kicks, and when Rose sat on her strikes and really went through, she wasn't able to land cleanly because Natalia brings so much. I would have liked to see Rose let go of her combinations a little bit more, try for takedowns, because she had success in round 2. But you got to give credit to Natalia. The reason she's on this win streak, she is not easy to track down. She brings so much for you to think about as a fighter. She's got all those feints coming. She's got legit speed. And this wasn't the most beautiful win for Natalia, but it was an absolute massive one for her. And Rose fell just short. You could see that Rose was distraught. But for me, Pat Barry, if I'm coaching you and I'm yelling something to do the entire fucking fight, 1, are you even listening? 2, how are they going to be able to tune into you? And it's just so much unnecessary fucking coaching, in my opinion. And then he's up there with the cage. Like, what's the point of having Trevor Whitman? He doesn't even have a chance to chime in. I think Pat Barry has been the downfall of Rose Namajunas. I've been very vocal about that. And Rose had a way to win this fight. She should have won this fight. It was damn close. But when you fight a 3-round fight and you get, whooped like she did in round 3, I mean, that says enough. Statistically, Natalia landed 63 total strikes, 51 of them significant. She had 1 takedown in 2 attempts, with 1 minute and 24 seconds of control time. Rose landed 46 total, only 26 significant. She was 1 for 5 in takedowns with 2 minutes and 9 seconds of control time. Now Natalia extends that winning streak to 14, 8-0 in the UFC. She moves up 1 spot to be tied at the number 1 contender. And Rose starts a new losing streak. She's an even 3-3 since 2023, all at flyweight. She moves down only 1 spot to number 7. And what's next? I mean, clearly Natalia is next in line for the title against Valentina Shevchenko. She probably was without this fight. But Rose is in a tough situation. Not too sure how much more fire she has, how much more she's want to go at it after that loss, and it being a tough loss. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to think where her head's at. She almost had a chance to go to a title fight in the second division. What does she even want to do now? I'm not sure. But the fight that would make sense for me in the flyweight division is Jasmine Jasudavicius. Weird stuff. Hate to see it. But credit to Natalia Silva. Then moving on to the big boys. Another fight I got wrong. We had Waldo Cortez Acosta with a round 2 TKO over Derek Lewis. Now coming in, I thought Derek was going to be able to get Waldo up against the cage and get his hands on him and have Waldo open up, but I was wrong. I mean, Waldo had a good game plan. It's the game plan you have to have being a younger, quicker fighter against the knockout king. Stay at distance and just taking what he can from range and get Lewis moving. Try to tire him out a little bit. Damn near 41 years old. Not get stuck in a brawl. So Waldo did do a good job. Round 1, not a lot of action. Derek's best strikes in this fight were actually high kicks. Maybe not quite head kicks, but up here, upper body. Was not expecting that whatsoever. But Waldo even got an easy takedown in round 1. Lewis doing what Lewis used to do, laid on his back, stayed there, just kind of accepted the position. And he was lucky it was at the end of round 1. In round 2, Waldo was landing nice combinations. He was definitely moving better. And at one point, he just kind of touched Derek with a right jab. Derek looked like he had slipped, but then he just stayed down at bottom, got into turtle, up on all fours, which means they're basically defenseless. So Waldo said, okay, just laid on his back and ripped some ground and pound. The ref called the fight. Not a great showing for Derek, especially as he probably could have got a White House fight. But man, Waldo has put himself right at the top of the division. Easy win, massive win streak, the most active heavyweight. Those are the things that you got to do to separate yourself. But statistically, Waldo landed 46 total strikes, 44 of them significant. He had a takedown and a knockdown. And Derek only landed 8 total and significant strikes. So Waldo extends that winning streak to 3. He is 8-2 since 2023. He stays at number 5 in the rankings. And Derek ends his 2-fight winning streak, starts a new losing streak. He's 3-3 since 2023 and moves down 2 spots to number 10. So what's next? Well, I think Waldo should be right in the mix of the heavyweight championship. I think the fight that he called out makes a ton of sense against Curtis Blades. And for Derek, I doubt he retires, but I think he's only going to try to take a fun fight. So maybe a striker like Shamil Gaziev he'd be down for. But there's not much time left on the Derek Lewis ticker. And Waldo although he's done so much, I feel very much about him like I did against Modestas Bukauskas. I think if Waldo fights the best of the division, the Cyril Gans, the Tom Aspinalls, he gets starched. But hey, he's earned his way up the ladder board. Moving on to the co-main. We had the Sugar Show, Sean O'Malley with a unanimous decision over Song Yadong. And much like Waldo, Sean O'Malley had a game plan, and it was a good thing he did. I mean, this was a very close fight, and Sean didn't want to be in the position to be in the striking distance of that big power up in close that Song was firing off. I mean, he was ripping some nasty, powerful strikes. He's very explosive and quick, shredded for a 135-pounder. And he's not even in his prime. The guy's only 28. But Sean knew what he had to do. Use his footwork, use those teeps, keep feinting, and keep Song guessing. Song did get a takedown at the end of the first round. Everyone wants to see if Sean could start improving in his grappling. Well, it was a pretty easy takedown. But in the entirety of round 1, Sean did land the bigger shots and really was the only one to score any type of damage, which is the number 1 criteria. So I did think Sean won round 1. Well, round 2, Song said, all right, I could take him down. Let me take him down again. He did so and controlled Sean for most of the round. He had Sean up against the cage, but the problem with Sean, tall, lanky guy, he's never breaking the hands. When someone has a grip, they can hold it, and it's hard to escape a takedown when that's the case. But he did do a good job up against the cage, building a base, but he never really attacked the hands and tried to pop the hips, which I'm sure was Song's strength. He probably didn't feel like that was really a smart move. But he did what Petr Yan did against Merab, and he was elbow striking the forearm, which, I barely hit myself. It's pretty tender. That doesn't feel good. That's going to help break the hands. I would like to see him do that, then try to pop, do that, try to pop. He just kind of sat there with the elbow attacks. But I've always said he needs to do more. If you're going to get taken down, make him pay for it. Find a way to strike and get them off you. Don't let them feel comfortable locking their hands and riding your hip. But we've seen this part of the game now where Suga's been taken down quite a few times and kept there. It really made you wonder what was going to happen in round 3, because it was 1-1 with a winner takes all round 3. And much like Natalia, Suga's show started to flow. He was piecing up Song, showcasing his speed, that fucking brilliant precision. And of course, he finally opened up with that brilliant knee right up the middle, smoked Song right on the chin. He took it like a champ, but it fucked him up. And that was the biggest moment of the fight. Song was rocked. I mean, he played it off pretty well, but I definitely think Sean dominated round 3. And again, much like Waldo did, Natalia did, you got to have a smart game plan against some of the best in the world. No one wants to sit in the pocket with Song Yadong. This guy is legit. He has championship potential. He needed to do what he had to do to get a win, and he still showcased his skills. He landed a lot of shots every round. They were precise. Did he sit there and scrap and stand with them like he did against Cheeto? No. Would the fans like to have seen that? I'm sure. But Song is only 28. Again, a win here, he would have been on a rocket ship. Tough loss for him. But the Suga Show now has title fight aspirations and is right back in the mix. The walkout, though, when he comes and does this in the octagon, I mean, fuck, that place was going wild. I love to see it. I'm glad he brought Superstar back. Statistically, Sean landed 67 total strikes, 48 of them significant. Song landed 69, so 2 more. 36, so 12 less significant. But he did have 3 takedowns and 7 attempts with 2 minutes and 6 seconds of control time, mostly in round 2. So Sean ends his 2-fight losing streak. He starts a new winning streak. He's 3-2 since 2023. He stays at number 3 in the rankings. And Song starts a new losing streak. He moves to 3-2 since 2023, and he stays at number 5. Now, there is Merab, if anyone, deserves an immediate rematch, but supposedly he's healing injuries. I mean, he fought, I don't even remember how many times last year, but a crazy amount. But supposedly Petr just had surgery. He's going to be out a couple months. So if I were a betting man, it's probably going to be Merab and Petr outside of the White House. But the UFC needs star power somewhere on that White House card. The Suga Show's from Montana, America, USA represent. If there is a chance that Merab's not ready, it will be the Suga Show. So I went with Petr Yan. I didn't know about the Petr surgery until this week. We'll see what happens. But Sean said he's willing to wait to fight whoever wins that as well. But Song, I think he's going to get another tough fight. I think he's going to get somebody like Peyton Talbot next. But then set us up for the early contender of Fight of the Year. A Fight of the Year that wasn't the closely contested Fight of the Year, but just an absolute bonkers Stephan Bonner, Forrest Griffin type brawl. We had Justin, the highlight Gaethje, with a unanimous decision over Paddy Pimblett for Fight of the Night, 100 G's. I'll tell you what, Justin's the highlight for a reason. He said he's willing to die in there, and boy, did he show it. And if you didn't know, I tried to tell y'all, Paddy wasn't ready. But I'll tell you right now, I am a Paddy fan. Paddy won me over as a fan after that fight. But I mean, the scene before the Paddy walkout, I don't think I've ever seen the UFC be so into someone's walkout. They had the Jumbotron that said, "Oh, Paddy the Baddie," so we could sing the chant to it. The music, I mean, it's hyped. I was just fired up at this moment in time. It was funny, the guy that works at TNT Sport. I mean, the guy's like 6'4", massive dude. I didn't fill my Zins before the Vegas trip from my hotel. So I had 2 in there. Already were out of them. This guy was, I don't remember the brand, the V1, was having some. I was like, oh, I've seen those. What do you got? He's like, I don't know how much they are milligram-wise because in Europe they don't label them. I looked at the can, couldn't label them. He said, I think they're double digits. It's like, oh, man, I don't know if I can handle that. I just do 3s for fun. I popped in one of those bad boys. That thing had me fucked up from the start of the main card till about the Sugar Show fight, man. I was on a different level. But I was just thinking the Patty fight, coming off that shit, I felt like I was, flying in the octagon. Regardless, Justin told us exactly what he was going to do in this fight. I'm going to march forward and put my chin in Patty's chest and put him on his back foot and go to work. That is the exact thing he did for 25 minutes in this fight. I mean, Patty came out swinging early, and supposedly watching it back and hearing him talk, the big thing that changed the way this fight played out is Justin had a nasty uppercut in the pocket that landed right on the sternum, and he said it fucked him up. You could see him try to cover and play it off. But when that happens, your game plan could go out the window. Everyone wants to say, why didn't he do takedowns? Why didn't you do takedowns? When you're fucked up from your body right out the get-go, 2 minutes in, you're trying to compose yourself. Well, Justin had a vicious knockdown towards the end of the round, and I thought Patty was done. He somehow makes it to round 2, durable, young, hasn't been hit too much. Well, Justin got a even nastier knockdown in round 2, and I saw Patty's eyes roll back. He was completely out, got up quickly. Justin kept pounding on him. I couldn't believe he didn't get the finish. I thought there was no way in hell this was going to go all 5 rounds. I like to bet in the 5-round fights, the fighter that I think is going to win in which round. So if they get a submission or a finish, I get paid out. I had Gaethje round 3 and round 4. When he was down, I thought it was going to be over. I was like, I was so close. He somehow made it. I was like, oh, I am for sure making some bread on this. And I had just hit the Sugashan in a close decision, which had me nervous. So I was feeling good. Well, Pimblett already rocked multiple times. I think Justin emptied the gas tank to get the finish in round 2. Where is the momentum going to swing? Well, again, it was surprising that Patty wasn't more aggressive with his offensive wrestling. But when you're pretty much knocked out, you've taken a body shot. I don't know what's going behind your head, through your head besides I need to survive and I need to do what I can do. You're just kind of letting your body flow. But yeah, I mean, Justin was pretty much strictly a boxer. Patty actually threw more leg kicks than Justin, which is a little bit more of a surprise to me as well. But Justin knew Patty's hands couldn't keep up with his power and his IQ. But Patty showed a lot of things. Toughness, durability, and he showed the willingness to hang in there and stand and strike against his opponent. You got to give him credit. I mean, Patty was so beaten up that I thought not only was he going to get finished, but I thought he might have fractured his head. But like he said, you can't knock out a Scouser. I mean, Patty's toughness through the roof made me a fan. The last 3 rounds, I mean, you could give Patty round 3. It was a close round. But he started coming back because, again, I think Justin emptied the tank in round 2. But at the end of the day, Patty didn't have a chance. He got big brothered through this whole fight. I would say after beating his ass again in round 4, by round 5, Justin was gassed. He had just landed so many big power shots. I mean, if you watch the fight, he's just sitting there. He does that weird head duck thing, which I thought maybe he'd get a knee up the middle or Patty would find openings for takedowns. But again, when you're that fucked up that you don't even know what's going on. And he would just cock these big combos. He hit him so many times, I'm sure he gassed himself out. And Patty kind of was reinvigorated after round 3, had a little bit more energy. But hey, it was an amazing brawl. They battled back and forth. The thing to note is Justin is still that guy. And Patty can't live off durability his whole career. But man, it made it for a fun fight, an absolute dog fight. The energy in the arena was amazing, and people are still talking about it to this day. Early fight of the year contender. It's going to be a hard one to top. Statistically, Justin landed 200 total strikes, 144 of them significant. He was 3 for 3 in takedowns, 2 knockdowns, and 5 minutes and 55 seconds of control time. There was a couple moments where Paddy was down from being rocked. Justin just did that thing where he laid on him while he was on all fours and just poof, 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 body, head. I mean, brutal. Now, Paddy landed 170 total, 156 of them significant. He was 0 for 5 in takedown attempts with 48 seconds of control time. I read off the stats. This is what comes from the UFC. There's no way Paddy landed more significant strikes than Justin. Even in that Rose fight, I'm like, the stats, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe one day I'll count him in a fight and see what the accuracy is, but it is the best stat we have. Regardless, Justin extends his winning streak to 2. He is 4-1 since 2023. Paddy ends that 9-fight winning streak, starts a new losing streak, and suffers his first loss in the UFC. He does stay at number 5 in the rankings. So the next fight you would think would be Justin and Ilya. You know, I feel like Arman should fight Ilya next. That's probably not going to happen. Who knows if Ilya is ready with what he has going on? Who knows if they try to put Justin on the White House? Who knows what's going to happen? But I'm going to go with Ilya and Justin. And for Paddy, he definitely needs to take some time off. I would love to see him fight Dan Hooker next. There's some bad blood there. That would be fun. But maybe Paddy gets the White House card against Conor. I think if anything, this didn't hurt Paddy's stock whatsoever. What a fucking card. Awesome main card. The highlights, of course, the Sugar Show, Paddy Pimblett. That's the price of admission right there. The main card opener, John Silva, Arnold Allen, was fantastic. We saw some fun young fighters, Ataba Gautier, Ty Miller, if you don't know, now you know, and a massive comeback win for Alex Perez. That sets us up for prime time Saturday, UFC 325 in Sydney, Australia. The early prelims at 2 p.m. Pacific, prelims at 4 p.m. Pacific, main card 6 p.m. Pacific, again, all an hour earlier, all on Paramount Plus. I think that'll be the norm this year, as supposedly Paramount had 1 million new subscribers on Saturday alone. Previewing this card, well, we do have the road to the UFC finals in the early prelims. Winners will get a UFC contract. And the prelims, I would say, are a little bit lighter. They probably could over-deliver matchup-wise. But the main card, the top of it, is putting the team on the back. They're carrying all the weight. We get the long-awaited return of Tai Tuivasa, Rafael Fiziev, Mauricio Ruffy. That's a bonkers fight. Dan Hooker, BSD, the main event. I can't wait. I'm going to preview this one step below 324 with a 6 out of 10. A couple fights we will not break down but are worth tuning into. We have Khan Offley taking on Giza and Jonathan Mikulev taking on Oban Elliott. Big fight for Oban. If he wants to stay popular, you got to get the dub. But we're going to kick this off in the prelims. What an interesting matchup here. We get Jacob Mamba Malkoun, 30 years old with an 8-3 record, taking on Torres the Punisher Finney, 27 years old with an undefeated 11-0 record. And this is interesting because Jacob's last fight with the UFC was back in early 2024. They released him. He's done some grappling, but I don't think he did any professional fights. And his last win was a pretty quality win over Andre Petroski. And he's only 30 years old, just now hitting his prime. So a lot at stake. And he takes on this kind of enigma of a fighter. There's only one Torres Finney, as muscular, short, and stout as he is, who still hasn't suffered a defeat due to his relentless wrestling and grappling skills. The problem is, for Torres, Jacob has great grappling as well. He's usually the grappling-heavy fighter. You know, Torres has been ridiculed for just kind of laying on top of his opponents and not striking when he has control and doesn't do enough delivering damage. It'll be interesting to see in the biggest moment of his career how he performs. Breaking it down, Jacob has a boxing and BJJ style with a black belt in BJJ. He hasn't fought since 2024. He was 3-2 in his last 5 fights with the UFC, and 5 of his 8 wins are via knockout. Now, Torres has a wrestling style. He's an Icon and Contender Series alum. Undefeated on an 11-fight winning streak, 2-0 in the UFC. 7 of his 11 wins are via knockout. That's all ground and pound. And he does have a 2.5-inch reach advantage. Now, don't get me wrong. I do think Torres is going to get some takedowns, but I don't think he follows up with enough damage. I think Jacob's able to avoid being held down for majority of the rounds and is able to land some combos before Torres closes distance with his boxing. And I wouldn't be surprised if he got a takedown of his own as Finney tires later in the fight. For that reason, I'm taking Jacob Malkoun. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Moving on. We have Cam, the Battle Giraffe Rouston, 31 years old with a 13-3 record, taking on Cody Brundage, 31 years old with an 11-7-1 record. Now, Cody has had some tough luck of late. He had had a very close split decision loss. Then he also has had 2 no contests in his last 4 fights. Now he has to take on a very talented Cam Rouston in his prime and is really impressed with back-to-back first-round finishes. Funny enough, Cam in his first Contender Series fight lost to Torres Finney from being grapple fucked, and then Torres didn't even get the contract. But breaking it down, Cam trains out of City Kickboxing. That's the famed gym down under. He's a Contender Series 2-time alum. He's on a 5-fight winning streak, 2-0 in the UFC. 5 of his 13 wins are via knockout, 7 via submission, so 12 of his 13 wins via finish. He also has a 6-inch reach advantage and a 3-inch leg reach advantage. Now, Cody, he has an orthodox stance. He trains out of Factory X with a brown belt in BJJ. He has a D2 wrestling background at a Newberry College. He's on a 1-fight losing streak. He has 3-4-2 since 2023. 6 of his 11 wins are via knockout, 3 via submission, so 9 of his 11 wins via finish. Now, I think Cody is going to have to rely on his wrestling in this fight. If he tries to stand and clang and bang against Cam, I think Cam is going to be the faster and longer striker. You know, Cam has shown that he can be taken down and held down, so he better not try to find another highlight. But for the sake of picking, it's a close one. I'm taking Cam Rouston, but I'm avoiding this on any parlay where possible. Again, I think Cody could wrestle his way to victory, but he does always find himself in a clang and bang car crash. Speaking of clang and bang, we have Junior, the Juggernaut Tafa, 29 years old with a 6-4 record, taking on Billy, the son of Susie Elicana, 30 years old with a 9-2 record. I think that's a new nickname. I think you should find another new nickname. Anyways, both of these men are just now hitting their primes at 29 and 30. Both pretty desperate for a win here. You know, Junior obviously relies on his striking and power, and he has been terrible when he's been taken down. His brother is no longer with the UFC because of it. I wouldn't say Billy has great grappling, but okay grappling. I'm sure he will mix up his attack and try to avoid being in the pocket and near Tafa's power, because he does have pretty fast hands for a big guy as well. Breaking it down, Junior has a boxing and Muay Thai style. He's a Brave and Risen alum. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 2-4 since 2023. All 6 of his wins are via knockout, and 2 of his 4 losses are via submission. Now, Billy is an LFA and PFL alum. He's on a 2-fight winning streak, 2-1 in the UFC. 3 of his 9 wins are via knockout. Now, I think this will obviously be a finished fight. I don't expect it to go to decision. If Billy could get out of the first round, I think he will have the advantage. He is more well-rounded, seems to be hitting his stride in the UFC. You know, he did fight a guy with a similar style. He had a unanimous decision win over Ibo Aslan. But I do think Junior has quicker hands, so he does have to be careful. If Junior can walk him down and cut off the cage, he should be able to land plenty of big shots. But I'm taking Billy Elicana. I'm avoiding this on any parlays where possible. Moving on into the main card. Kind of a short notice about a little Aussie on Aussie crime here. We have Quillian Salkeld with a 10-1 record, 26 years old with a 10-1 record, taking on Jamie Malarkey, 31 years old with an 18-8 record. Originally, Jamie was supposed to fight Rong Zhu, but he pulled out, and I'm sure it wasn't enough opportune options on short notice. So fellow Aussie Quillian accepted the challenge. You hate to see some Aussie on Aussie crime. I'm sure they're not stoked about it. But both men coming off big wins. A win here would really help their careers, especially Malarkey, who's in his prime. Salkeld is still young. He's kind of cruising up the rankings. A loss here wouldn't, deter him too much. So I would say much more on the line for Jamie Malarkey. Breaking it down, Quillian is a Contender Series alum. He's on a 10-fight winning streak, 4-0 in the UFC. 4 of his 10 wins are via knockout, 3 via submission. So 7 of his 10 wins via finish. And Jamie has a BJJ style, black belt in BJJ. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 3-3 since 2023. 10 of his 18 wins are via knockout, 6 of his 8 losses also via knockout. So to knock out or be knocked out. Now, Jamie's much more experienced. He's fought the top talent in the division. Although he hasn't fared well against the bigger names, he's mostly won his bouts via decision since being in the UFC. Now, Quillian's on a streak. He's young, full of confidence, and sometimes that goes a long ways. I think especially on short notice, I think he just lets it fly, sticks to his strengths, and I think that actually helps him in this fight. Unless Jamie could get a takedown early, I think Salkeld finds the mark. For that reason, I'm taking the young Quillian Salkeld, but I'm avoiding this on any parlay. If I remember, the odds are actually really high on Salkeld's favor, and I think they're too high. Let's see. Yeah, they have Salkeld at minus 1,100 to 820. That's way too high. I'm taking them, but that's too high. Regardless, moving on, we have Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa, 32 years old with a 15-8 record and the number 12 next to his name, taking on Taliesin Chikau Teixeira, 26 years old with an 8-1 record and the number 15 next to his name. Now, it's almost been a 2-year layoff for Bam Bam, but now he's back and he's taking on a very young and dangerous Taliesin Teixeira. Taliesin still, at 26, is pretty raw, but he's a long and powerful striker. Again, I do not expect this to go to the judges' scorecards. Nobody knows what to expect from Tai in his return, so it should be a doozy. Breaking it down, Tai is on a 5-fight losing streak. He hasn't won since February of 2022. 13 of his 14 wins are via knockout. 3 of his 8 losses are via knockout, and 3 via submission. So to finish or be finished. Now, Taliesin has an orthodox stance. He's an LFA and Contender Series alum. He's on a 1-fight losing streak, 2-1 in the UFC. 7 of his 8 wins are via knockout. And he has an 8-inch reach advantage and a 3.5-inch leg reach advantage. Now, I've seen a couple of Tai's fights in person. The shoeys are phenomenal, the energy. I am excited for Tuivasa's return. But this is a brutal matchup in his return. I think Tai, the opportunity to come back and beat Taliesin, get a finish, a brilliant finish, he's right back to where he left off in a way better situation. You can't count out Tai's boxing and power, but he really hasn't defeated the quality opponents in the heavyweight division. I think actually Taliesin coming off a loss is going to have him even more prepared for this fight and is going to lead him to victory. For that reason, I'm taking Taliesin Teixeira, but I'm avoiding this on any parlays. Either man is about to knock each other out. Then in my fight of the night, we have Rafael Adaman Fiziev, 32 years old with a 13-4 record and the number 9 next to his name, taking on Mauricio One Shot Ruffy, 29 years old with a 12-2 record and then number 14 next to his name. I'm very excited for this fight. I know Fiziev had a 3-fight losing streak, but I think he's underrated, and he's only lost to great fighters and is a kickboxing wizard. His kicks, his speed, they're phenomenal. He's a very fun guy to watch. You know, Mauricio has championship skills and potential, but this is debatably his toughest opponent yet. Mauricio was taken down, and that led to his demise against Benoit Saint-Denis. And although Fiziev isn't a grappling first fighter, he's definitely improved in grappling, and I do think he has an opportunity to take Mauricio down. Breaking it down, Rafael has a Muay Thai style. He trains out of Kill Cliff FC, one of the best gyms in the world. He has a blue belt in BJJ. He's a Titan FC alum. As a Muay Thai professional fighter, he had 39 wins. 7 of his 11 UFC fights have been performance of the night or fight of the night. He shows up, he shows out. He was the 2021 Breakout Fighter of the Year. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 1-3 since 2023. 8 of his 13 wins are via knockout. 2 of his 4 losses are also via knockout. So to knock out or be knocked out. Now, Mauricio trains out of Fighting Nerds. I've seen some rumblings that might not be no longer. He's training with Volk this camp, but we'll keep it. He's a Contender Series alum. He had the 2025 Knockout of the Year against King Green. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 4-1 in the UFC. 11 of his 12 wins are via knockout. He's a finisher, and he has a 3.5-inch reach advantage. Now, I think that the first round is going to be critical. I want to see who can control space and who's going to own the middle of the octagon. I expect Rafael to try and put Mauricio on his back foot and close the distance like Justin Gaethje did against Patty. Fiziev can use his kicks to close distance, open up his combinations, maybe even get in the clinch, that Muay Thai specialty, and can look to get takedowns like Benoit did. I think he brings a very mixed attack and tries to stay close so he isn't in danger of the big kicks and the big power, long power shots that Ruffy likes. Now, if Ruffy can defend takedowns and make Fiziev pay for closing distance with body kicks, lower leg kicks, and his jab, there is a chance he could pick at Fiziev at range and do enough to win on the scorecards, or maybe get Rafael worn out late and find a late finish. But I'm taking the underdog, the dogs coming to eat. Ho, ho. I'm taking Rafael Fiziev. I am not putting it on a parlay, but I am excited, and this is another one. Ruffy's great, only 29. Fiziev's been there, done that, fought the best. I think he's just not quite ready for that level of competition. Moving on. I guess this would be the co-main. We have Dan the Hangman Hooker, 35 years old with a 24-13 record and the number 6 next to his name, taking on Benoit, the God of War, Saint-Denis, 30 years old with a 16-3-1 record and the number 8 next to his name. Now, this fight's going to be another violent affair, and I'm excited for it. I'm sure BSD looks for takedowns early and often like he did against Mauricio Ruffy. I think that Dan is going to be ready as he's faced plenty of grapplers in his last few years. You know, I think that Dan makes BSD pay for trying to rush in, and I think Dan's going to land big shots on Benoit. I think there's going to be a lot of wild exchanges like the Benoit Saint-Denis Dustin Poirier fight, so don't blink. Breaking this down, Dan has a kickbox style. He also trains out of City Kickboxing. He's got a black belt in BJJ. He's a Legend FC and King of the Ring alum. He's on a 1-fight losing streak and is 2-1 since 2023. 11 of his 24 wins are via knockout, 7 via submission, so 18 of his 24 wins via finish, and 4 of his 13 losses are via submission. Saint-Denis has a brown belt in BJJ, a black belt in judo. He's a Brave alum. 5 of his last 7 fights have been performance of the night or fight of the night. He shows up, he shows out. He's tied with Alex Pajeda and Islam Makhachev for most finishes in the UFC since 2021 with 8. And he has a lot of French records, or the first of the French. He's the first French fighter to compete and win on a UFC card in France. First French fighter to be ranked in the lightweight division. Fastest finish from a French fighter in UFC. He's on a 3-fight winning streak and is 6-2 since 2023. 11 of his 16 wins are via submission, and 2 of his 3 losses are via knockout. Watch out. Now, Benoit Saint-Denis is an assassin. He was a special forces guy. He's looked great and has, in the past few years, had chances where he didn't look so good. I think finding his new team, having the game plan, that's been the big difference. This fight strictly comes down to if Dan can avoid being taken down and held down, because I'm sure he will be taken down. But if he doesn't get held down, I think he outstrikes Benoit, uses his length, and I think he's just the clear better striker. For that reason, I'm taking another underdog. The dog's coming to eat. I'm taking Dan Hooker, but I'm avoiding this on any parlays. And Dan Hooker is like a plus 270 or higher dog. Some good sprinkle there. Fasiv is plus 100, closer to a 50-50. The odds have been all over on that fight. Then the long-awaited rematch. We got Alexander the Great Volkanovski, 37 years old with a 27-4 record, taking on Diego Lopez, 31 years old with a 27-7 record, and the number 2 next to his name. We got to see this happen. We already know what we are getting in this fight, and I love it. The first fight happened about 10 months ago, and it was a fantastic 5-round showdown. Alexander pretty much dominated in their first fight, as this was Diego's first championship try, and I think it kind of overwhelmed him as he stood across from Alexander the Great and was picked apart. You can't stand across Alexander Volkanovski. I think Diego's going to have a better showcase in this fight, and I do think he looks for takedowns this time around. But breaking it down, Alexander trains out of City Kickboxing. He has a black belt in BJJ. He has 5 successful title defenses in his first reign. He's a 2-time featherweight champ. He has the second most title fights in UFC featherweight history with 7, behind Jose Aldo. He's the first Australian-born fighter to win a UFC championship. He's the oldest fighter in history to win UFC featherweight championship, 36 years old, 195 days. He had the second longest win streak in UFC featherweight history with 11. He has the highest striking differential in featherweight history at 3.09. The longest average fight time in featherweight history at 17 minutes, 31 seconds. The third most significant strikes landed in featherweight history, 1,525. The third highest significant strike percentage in featherweight history, 56.5%. The most leg kicks landed in a fight in featherweight history was 71 in his first fight against Holloway. He also had the second most leg kicks in a featherweight fight, and his second fight against Holloway was 67. And he also had the most total leg strikes landed in UFC featherweight history, with 81 against the featherweight and leg kicking king, Jose Aldo. He has the second most total leg strikes landed in a featherweight history, with 75 in Holloway's first fight. He was the UFC men's pound-for-pound number 1 ranked fighter in 2022 and 2023. He was the 2022 Male Fighter of the Year. He had the 2021 Fight of the Year against Brian Ortega and the 23 Fight of the Year against Islam in their first fight. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 2-3 since 2023. 13 of his 27 wins are via knockout. 3 of his 4 losses are also via knockout. So to knock out or be knocked out. Now, Diego has an orthodox stance. He has a second-degree black belt in BJJ. He's a Contender Series and Fury FC alum. He's on a 1-fight winning streak and is 6-2 since 2023. Although their first fight was 10 months ago, he came back, got a dub, and here he is again. 12 of his 27 wins are via submission, 11 via knockout, So an very impressive 23 of his 27 wins via finish. And it's weird. He is taller than Volk, but their reach is pretty much the same. But he has a 5-inch leg reach advantage. Use those kicks from distance, son. I just think Alexander is one of the greats. I don't think he's going to drastically fall off a cliff with his cardio, his skill in 10 months. I think he will be the better striker. I think he will outstrike Diego Lopez on the scorecards. The path for Diego is to grapple, try to take down Alexander, stay away from him in the pocket, pick at distance, and I think you got to make it a brawl. You got to get Alexander to open up with you. He's got a tough chin as well. Diego Lopez is durable. Take your chances. That's the only way. If you try to make this a clean technical fight, you will be defeated. If you make it ugly, you get him up against the cage, you try to clinch him a little bit, try to find a way to take his back. Those are your opportunities. The question is, will he do it? I don't think so. I'm saying, and still, I'm taking Alexander the Great Volkanovski. We are putting him on that parlay. We marking that ish down, and we getting that bread. Nothing like back-to-back numbered events. I mean, this main card is pretty fucking stacked. We have the Quillian Salkiel, Jamie Malarkey fight. Stylistically, that's a doozy. Heavyweight bangers, Tai Tuivasa, Taliesin Teixeira. Someone's going to drop. But these three fights, man, Fiziev, Ruffy, banger. Hooker, Benoit Saint-Denis, banger. And then, of course, at the top, we have Alexander Volkanovski. I didn't do my home country picks. So let's see how I have them going. I have Volkanovski winning for Australia. Hooker's from New Zealand, but he counts. No one in the Fiziev fight. I have Ty losing, so I have him 2-1. Quillian winning 3-1. Even though he's facing another Aussie, someone has to win. I have Tafa losing 3-2. Rousen winning 4-2. Malkoun winning 5-2. Mikalev losing 5-3. Khan winning 6-3. I have no idea about the Domar fan guy or the road to the UFC guy. So I have them going about 6-3. So Australia should be great. They always show out. I'm not too sure what time it will be there. I think it's morning Sunday because we're keeping it at prime time, which I feel bad for the local people. But hey, we're back on Paramount. Another numbered event. Next Saturday, it's a back to the Apex. But it's a pretty stacked card for the Apex, I have to admit. This one has a lot of ranked action for a fight night. And the headliner is a banger. Mario Batista, who's ranked number 9, taking on 13th ranked Vinicius Oliveira. Can't wait to break this down for you guys next week and preview the Apex. I'm your host, Shane Gillette. See you next week.